Welcome back. We are now on page 631. Number 1. Now we're going to talk about compound criteria, which that's a fancy word and it sounds scary, but all it's saying is that we are going to say we want this and that, this or that, this not that. So it's the same thing as in design view, but now we're just going to type in the word. So it's not that big of a deal. So click on the down arrow and return to the sequel view. And we still have our stuff in there just like before. Now page 631, number 1, we want to select our customer number and our customer name. Those are the only two fields we need, so we're going to get rid of the city field. We are still using our customer table, and we are still going to put a limiter on that, so where city equals, and this time it is a specific city, so where the city must be Greer. Now remember, since we're using a text in here, what do we have to put around it so that it works? If you said quotation marks, you're correct. So equals quote Greer, close quote, and then we'll hit enter and we'll type the word and in all caps because it is a command. And notice all our commands are starting on the left hand side, so it's easier for the computer, or easier for you to read it. The computer doesn't care. It's easier for you to read it. And returns, so bracket returns, oops, close bracket, equals 0. So we are going to choose the customer number, and the customer name field is going to reflect in this query. It is coming from the customer table, and we only want the customer number and customer names from the city of Greer and the people from Greer who have returned nothing. So we have to meet two criteria. They must be from Greer and they must have returned nothing. Alright, and as usual our semicolon is at the end. Then we're going to view our results, and I have one place from Greer that has nothing returned, so good for them. And we will save that as, save object as, save as, chapter 10, query 7. Let's say OK. Now on page 632, we'll use the or. So it'll be this or that. It will include things from this or that. Now, looking at number 1, it says customer number, customer name are the fields we're using from the customer table, and our limiter is still city equals Greer, so only the people from Greer. And now, instead of and, we're going to type or. And remember, since it's a command, we want to be in capital letters. So or returns equals 0. So this time we're going to get everybody from Greer. If they're from Greer, they're all on there, whether they've returned stuff or not. It doesn't matter what their returns are for the people in Greer. They are all there. They are also going to include people, everybody, whether they're in Greer or not, that has returned nothing. Okay, so if the city is Greer, they're in there. If the returns are 0, they're in there. Alright, make sure your semicolon is at the end. Go to view. Now these are all the people who are either from Greer or they've returned nothing. Alright, so that's how that one works. That's the or. File, save as, but then you already know that because y'all have already done that in your design grid before. So just the difference now is that you're typing the word in. Not that big of a deal. Chapter 10, Query 8, and say OK. On page 633, we're going to use the not. So we want this, not that. Is an easy way to say it. This time we are going to include our city field. So customer name, customer number, customer name, comma, space. And our city field. So bracket city. It's still from our customer table. We're wearing out that customer table. Now this time we're going to change this. It's going to say where not. So we want it from city that is not Greer. City where the city is not Greer. So any city that is not Greer. So instead of just where, it is where not. City equals Greer. And there is nothing in there about an or statement, so we'll take that out. And then we have our semicolon. So we are going to choose customer number, customer name, and city fields are going to be reflected in our query. It's from the customer table, and where the city is not Greer. Alright, go to view. And notice that all of these cities are not Greer. Piece of cake. So let's save that as, save object as, Chapter 10, Query 9. And say OK. Excellent. Now page 634. We're going to create a computed field, which means you're going to write a formula. Alright, no big deal. The only thing you have to consider that when you do a computed field, you have to give it a field name. Now you don't have to. It'll work fine without it, but it's going to look like nonsense on your data sheet when you look at the results. So you also have to give it a name. With that being said, let's switch back to our SQL view. Now this time we're adding some more fields, and in the select we're going to add our calculated field also. And I know that seems kind of strange to do it there, but we need to put that in there so that our data sheet makes a column for that. So customer number, customer name, oh no. So customer number, and then we'll have bracket, and I'm on page 634. Seminar code, close bracket, comma, space, total hours, bracket, make sure you got that open bracket in there, comma, space, bracket, hours spent, close bracket, comma, space. Now we will put in our formula here, so we'll do bracket, total hours, close bracket, dash or minus, bracket, hours, space, spent, close bracket. So that is our formula. Now that would look pretty nasty as a title, right? So we're going to use the as command, which says total hours minus hours spent, and the name you're going to give it is remaining. So we'll do bracket remaining, close bracket. So we're telling the computer we want to include customer number, seminar code, total hours, hours spent, and then our last column is going to be remaining. But our remaining column is something that we don't have right now. We're going to write a formula, total hours minus hours spent, and that as remaining, as, that's the name of the column, is going to be remaining. So you're telling the computer what to call that column, and that this formula will make up all the information within that column. Alright, All of this is being retrieved from the customer table, so you know that total hours and hours spent are in that customer table. Now this time on the where, this time from the seminar offerings table. So from offerings, seminar offerings. So make sure you do from seminar offerings right there. Where, now it's not a where not, so we want something specific. Where hours spent is greater than 0. So we only want the ones where hours spent must be greater than 0. Those are the only ones that will be included in here. So customer number, seminar code, total hours, hours spent, our formula, our calculated field, total hours minus hours spent, as the name of the field will be remaining, is coming from the seminar offerings table, and we are only going to include the ones where hours spent is greater than 0. And then we have our semicolon to end it, and we go to view. And so exciting, a very nice calculated field right there. Turned out great. So file, save as, save object as, save as, and this one is going to be copy of, or chapter 10, query 10, and say OK. Now on page 635 we're going to sort our stuff. So right now it is just whatever is default, it does whatever it wants to do. So we are going to tell it specifically how we want it sorted. The sort, we're going to SQL view. The sort command is order by. So the first thing we want to do is get the beginning started. This time we're going to select our customer number, and next is customer name. So I guess we will erase all of that. Bracket, customer name, close bracket, comma space, bracket amount paid, close bracket, comma space, square bracket, current due, bracket, current due, close bracket, comma space, and book rep number. So bracket, book rep number, close bracket. And it is coming from the customer table this time. So we'll get rid of seminar offerings and put in customer table or customer. Now the new command is order by. Order by means, I just told y'all, putting an order, right? So our sort command, order by customer name. So that means that we are going to put it in alphabetical order by customer name. And ascending order is the default sort. So if you tell it nothing, it will put customer name in alphabetical order. So we have our semicolon at the end, and we hit view. Now notice that our customer name, not done by our customer number, right? Our customer name should be in alphabetical order. Excellent. So we will save this query as, save object as, save as. And this time it's going to be chapter 10, query 11, and say OK. On page 636 we get to do a multiple sort. So we'll have a primary sort and a secondary sort. The primary sort will be first, and the secondary sort will be second, and that means it will sort it by the primary first, and then within that primary it will sort the second. Now column order does not matter when you are doing this in SQL view. So click on SQL. So you can think of sometimes when you want to do a primary and secondary sort, and if you do it from design view, you have to do it in, you have to put the first column and then the second column. You have to put it in the way, and that forces the way it's going to look. If you want to force it, if you don't want those columns in that order, you can always go into your SQL view and tell it, I want it this way. I want to select these columns in this order, and I want it ordered by this way. So you have more control in the SQL view. So that's kind of a plus. Now, the first thing we want to do on page 636, we want customer number, customer name, amount paid, current due, and book rep number. So all that stays the same. From the customer table, order by, so we're going to put it in order, or we're going to sort it. Book rep number this time. So in customer name, instead of customer name, we're going to type in book rep number. So that is going to be our primary sort. They're going to sort by book rep number first, comma space, then amount paid. Amount paid is your secondary sort. So it'll sort book rep number first, and then within each book rep number is going to sort in ascending order, because that's the default, ascending order within the book rep number, amount paid. Our semicolons at the end. Switch the view. So notice that book rep number is our primary sort, so all the 42s, then the 53s, and the 65s. And then within that sort, we have the amount paid. So amount paid is 0, 0, 75. So each one goes up all the way to the end of 42s. And then we have book rep number 53, and the same thing from small to large in 53. Book rep 65, small to large. So primary sort, secondary sort. Excellent. File, save as, save object as, save as, and this is going to be chapter 10, query 12, and say OK. Notice how I kept saying that the default is ascending order. This next query, we're going to make it sort the current due in descending order, so the opposite way. Now, we'll switch back to our SQL view, and we have customer number, customer name, amount paid, current due, and book rep number. That stays the same. Customer stays the same. Order by, book rep number. Now this time we're going to choose current due. So we're going to type current due in there instead of amount paid. Now, in the book, they want us to sort current due in descending order. So after we've told the computer what field we want to include, we're going to say, oh, hey, by the way, we want to sort it in descending view instead of ascending view. So the command for that is DESC, descending. So the primary sort is book rep number in ascending view. Remember to include your semicolon at the end of that. Go to view. And so this time we did current due within our book rep number. So book rep numbers are still ascending, right? But our current due is descending within. So that primary sort, secondary sort. This is sorted first, this is sorted second. And is done in descending view order because we said DESC for descending after the current due field. So notice descending works great. So we're going to save that as, save object, save as, and this is going to be 13, chapter 10, query 13. And OK. Turn the page. This time on page 638 we're going to omit our duplicates. So remember, like when you have the same town 100 million times, duplicates. Switch your view to SQL, and let's see, page 639. we are going to select. Now, this is where we say distinct. We want things listed one time only. Now, since this is part of our command, it's in all caps, so it's easy for us to see what's what. And we want to do customer number only. Now, I want you to notice something a little different about this. Notice that the customer number is encased in parentheses. So we have to put the parentheses around that, opening and closed. Why, you ask? I don't know. That's just the way it is. Okay? So select, we're selecting the customer number field, and we're making distinct the customer number. Okay? This is coming from our seminar offerings table. So instead of the customer table, we want our seminar offerings table. Oops, turn off the caps lock. So a distinct customer number from our seminar offerings table, ordered by our customer number, which makes sense because that is all that we're putting in there, correct? And we need to get rid of these other things. So we're going to put them in order by our customer number. Distinct. None of these should be repeated if this works. And voila, nothing is repeated. Excellent. We want to do File, Save As, Save Object As, Save As, and this one is going to be 14. And say OK. Awesome. We are now at the bottom of page 639, and the book says this is a great time to take a break. So I hope you're having fun. See you in a second.